The story of Abraham and Isaac, a testament of faith and obedience. The story of Abraham and Isaac from the book of Genesis chapter 22 stands out as one of the most profound narratives of faith and obedience in human history. This account reveals the ultimate test of trust in God, showing the depths of Abraham's dedication and God's provision in times of trial. Journey with us as we explore each step of this powerful story and uncover its timeless lessons. The story begins with God calling out to Abraham, a man chosen and blessed by God. In a moment that must have deeply shaken Abraham to his core, God asks him to do the unimaginable, sacrifice his beloved son Isaac. Isaac is no ordinary child. He is the son of promise, the one through whom God had assured Abraham that his descendants would become as numerous as the stars in the sky. Yet here is a divine command that seems to contradict everything Abraham knows about God's purpose. Despite the enormity of the request and the emotional toll it must have taken, Abraham responds without hesitation. The Bible does not record any arguments or pleas from Abraham, only his quiet obedience. His faith is extraordinary, not because it is easy, but because it trusts God's purpose even when it isn't clear. With a heavy heart, Abraham begins his journey. Early the next morning, he gathers Isaac, 2 servants, and wood for the burnt offering. They travel for 3 days, each step giving Abraham ample time to consider the weight of his decision. Though the Bible gives no explicit details about Abraham's thoughts during this time, it is easy to imagine the inner conflict he might have felt. How does a father walk towards what feels like the loss of his cherished son? Yet Abraham never falters. His steadfast faith carries him forward. As they near the mountain, Abraham leaves the servants behind. He tells them, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there to worship, and then we will come back to you." This simple statement is profound. It reveals Abraham's unwavering belief that he and Isaac will return, even if he doesn't know how. This is the essence of faith, trust in God's promises, even in the face of impossible situations. Abraham and Isaac ascend the mountain together, father and son walking side by side. Isaac, carrying the wood for the sacrifice, finally notices that something is missing. "Father," he asks, "the fire and wood are here, but where is the lamb for the offering?" Abraham's reply is filled with faith and perhaps a hint of pain. "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son," he says. Whether Abraham knows how God will do this or not, his words foreshadow the miraculous provision that is yet to come. For now, Isaac's question lingers in the air as they continue their ascent. When they reach the place God has shown Abraham, the moment of truth arrives. Abraham builds an altar, arranging the wood carefully. Then, with an unwavering heart, he binds his son Isaac and lays him on the altar. Isaac's cooperation is a testament to his own faith and trust in his father. Though the story focuses on Abraham, it is worth considering the courage and obedience Isaac must have shown during this moment. Together, father and son embody trust, Abraham in God and Isaac in Abraham. The tension rises as Abraham reaches for the knife. This is the ultimate act of obedience, a willingness to surrender what he holds most dear to honor God. At the same time, it raises one of the most difficult questions for anyone of faith. Can we trust God when he asks for everything we love? Just as Abraham is about to carry out the sacrifice, a voice from heaven interrupts. "Abraham, Abraham," God's angel calls. Abraham stops immediately, a clear sign of his readiness to obey and his attentiveness to God's voice. The angel declares, "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld your son from me." This moment changes everything. Abraham has passed the test, proving his faith and obedience beyond doubt. He has shown that he trusts God completely, even when it means surrendering the person dearest to him. As Abraham looks up, he sees a ram caught in a nearby thicket. God has indeed provided, just as Abraham had assured Isaac earlier in the journey. Abraham takes the ram and sacrifices it in place of Isaac, honoring God's provision in the most tangible way possible. In gratitude, Abraham names the place, "The Lord will provide." This name serves as a reminder of God's faithfulness, not just in this story but throughout the ages. It shows that while God may test his followers, he is never absent during their trials. He is a God who provides in ways we often cannot foresee. In the aftermath of this dramatic event, God speaks to Abraham again. He reaffirms his covenant, promising blessings, innumerable descendants, and the assurance that through Abraham's line, all nations on earth will be blessed. This is a powerful testament to the rewards of unwavering faith and obedience. Abraham's willingness to trust God without knowing the outcome has solidified his place as the father of faith. His actions echo through history as a reminder that God's promises are always trustworthy, even when circumstances seem dire. The story of Abraham and Isaac is much more than an ancient tale. It is a message deeply relevant to our lives today. At its core, this story offers three timeless themes: faith and obedience, as Abraham is tested by God's command to sacrifice his beloved son Isaac, highlighting the ultimate trust in divine provision and the reaffirmation of God's covenant promises. Faith in action. True faith is not passive, it requires action, even when the road ahead is uncertain. Abraham's steady steps up the mountain remind us to trust God's direction, even when we can't see the bigger picture. Obedience as worship. Abraham's obedience demonstrated that his devotion to God was greater than his attachment to anything else. Through him, we see that obedience is a form of worship, an opportunity to honor God with our trust. God as provider. In the midst of trials, it can be easy to lose sight of God's provision. Yet this story reassures us that God sees our needs and provides precisely what is necessary, often in ways we could never predict. This story naturally raises the question: how would we respond when our faith is put to the test? Would we cling to our fears and doubts, or would we trust in God's plan, even when it seems incomprehensible? Abraham's journey demonstrates that faith is not about having all the answers. It's about trusting in the one who does. When we reflect on our own lives, we can find inspiration in his example, choosing to believe that even in our most difficult moments, God is both present and faithful. The story of Abraham and Isaac is a masterpiece of faith, obedience, and divine provision. It reminds us that God does not call his people to meaningless suffering, but invites them into deeper trust and relationship with him. When we have the courage to say yes to God, even in the face of uncertainty, he provides in ways that exceed human understanding. As we conclude, let this message stay with you: the Lord will provide. Whether on your own mountains of trials or in your quiet moments of doubt, remember that faith and obedience lead to the unfailing grace of God, a grace that always provides, redeems, and blesses.